We're a couple of minutes away from the start of the meeting, so if I could ask everybody to resume their seats, please.
Thank you. Welcome to the meeting. I would also like to welcome our newly elected members, Councillor Holmes and Winter, to their first meeting of the Council. Please ensure mobile phones are switched on to silent to avoid any disruption to the meeting. If the fire alarm sounds, you will be directed where to go. Please follow the instructions given by the officers. Please may I take the opportunity to remind members of the protocol to be followed at this meeting and the procedures in place in relation to speaking, which must be adhered to at all times. Prayers. I will now do the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Caroline, please can you confirm any apologies for absence, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies have been received on behalf of Councillors Handley, Healing, Norman, Rogers, Sargentson, Stathers and V. Walker.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest?
Madam Chairman, sorry. Councillor Green.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Thank you. I will now take nominations for the Chairman of the Council. To move, Councillor Dennis.
Good morning, members. I'm delighted to have this opportunity of proposing Councillor Nigel Wilkinson for the post of the Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council. It is a pleasure and a privilege, or so Nigel informs me. He will without doubt make an exceedingly good Chairman and will, as always, be very well turned out, scrubbed up and military in his bearing. After his many years in the Army and latterly in a senior role in the Cadets, he has always, when on duty and in uniform, given off a very smart and dignified impression. He achieved a very lofty rank in his Army career and has over the past few years excelled as Ward Councillor too. His colleagues on the East Riding Council will not be surprised to see him take on this prestigious position at such an early stage in his career. I've known Nigel since about 2013 when I was the 667th Mayor of Heddon. He had charge of the local cadet force and came beautifully attired and suitably mob-handed to a number of my events during that year. He It was a surprise, however, when I turned up to take out deliveries for a candidate for the Howdenshire by-election soon afterwards to find it was the same Nigel Wilkinson. Small world. Of course, I called in the favourite in our recent by-election. Actually, a few years ago, we did live next door to Nigel and Caroline, and as neighbours, we spent much time in one of those houses. I recall one occasion entertaining them at my home after dinner over a brandy or two. I told them that I'd got into the habit of standing outside the back door of my house at 10 o'clock each night, exchanging hoots and squawks with the local owls in the trees down the garden. My new hobby, so to speak. This had been going on for weeks, and I always got back as many hoots as I gave out. That's a coincidence, said Caroline. That's exactly what my Nigel does. Anyway, dad joke over. I sincerely believe Nigel will serve the council well in his year of office. He will represent our authority with keenness, enthusiasm and dignity. He has held a number of responsible positions, including chairmanships on planning, audit, and several other committees on the council. This one is absolutely nothing like he has taken on before, and you wonder what's hit him. I wish Nigel and Caroline much luck and enjoyment in the roles of chairman and chairman's lady. If they get anywhere like the amount of enjoyment I got in my year of office, they have a lot to look forward to. I'm very happy to propose Councillor Nigel Wilkinson as our next chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Meredith.
Probably better lose the mask there. Good morning, everyone. And can I just say how great it is to see you all here today. And in a nod to Councillor Dennis, it's definitely a hoot to be back. I'm grateful to Councillor Dennis for having proposed Councillor Wilkinson and the words he has shared with us today. And I would like to echo the sentiments he has expressed. Having served 11 tours across 5 countries and rising to the rank of Colonel in the Army Reserves, Councillor Wilkinson is no stranger to duty and commitment. To then take on the role of Commandant of the Army Cadet Force, having been the Deputy Commander of 15 Brigade prior to this, shows the dedication of our colleague. Professionally, Councillor Wilkinson has been the Regional Director for both the Bank of Scotland and for TSB. Having also been employed by Alliance and Leicester as their National Sales Director, it is safe to say that we can be assured Councillor Wilkinson will represent this authority, and all of us, in a professional and responsible fashion. Having spent the previous 2 years working as Vice Chair under my ward colleague, Councillor Smith, I have no doubt Councillor Wilkinson is more than capable and overly prepared to assume the role of Chair. And having worked with Councillor Wilkinson myself on both pensions and the Western Area planning, the latterly where he has been my chairman already for the past year, I have always found him to be considered and considerate. I think it's clear to all assembled here today that I believe Councillor Wilkinson is more than capable of representing this authority as the chair of our council, and would like to ask that we all put our support behind our colleague and our friend, that we show him our support as we ask him to support this council, all of us and all of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more nominations?
Councillor Nerlin wanted to come in, Madam Chairman.
Sorry, Councillor Nerlin.
Just come in.
Thank you, Chair.
No.
Can you hear me now? Oh, that sounds better. Okay, it's just to say on behalf of our group that we welcome the appointment of Councillor Wilkinson. On a personal level, I've watched him chair Western Area, and I think he's done an extremely good job. He's very fair. He enables all members to speak, and he manages the meetings very well. I think he also blends common sense in that he will work with policy, but he also recognises that this is about residents, and he tries to bring off that tricky balance. I think he has more work to do in managing Councillor Meredith, but that's a challenge for all of us, I think. But that aside, we wish him well, and we will be supporting it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I will now take the vote. All those in favour?
Okay, Madam Chair.
Any against? Thank you. That is carried. That I declare that Councillor Wilkinson is duly elected as the Chairman of East Riding of Yorkshire Council for the ensuing year. Thank you.
I, Nigel Wilkinson, having been elected to the office of Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you good? Just got to make a speech. Nigel. Just go.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for appointing me as Chairman.
Councillor Smith.
Okay, thank you. The Council will now adjourn for a few minutes. Thank you.
Members, if I could ask you to please be upstanding for the Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council. You could ask everybody to sit down. You could just ask everybody to sit down.
Yes, could we all be seated, please? I would now like to call upon the leader of the Conservative group to move a vote of thanks to the retiring chairman. Councillor Owen.
Thank you. Now can you hear me? That's better. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and may I congratulate you on election to the position of Chairman of the Council, a role which I am sure you will carry out with great professionalism and dignity. But may I now turn to our outgoing Chairman, Councillor Pat Smith. We have been blessed since the establishment of this authority with chairmen who have been tremendous ambassadors for this council, and Councillor Pat Smith is certainly no exception. We all know Pat as a totally dedicated councillor and a credit to the residents she represents and this authority. Who would have known, though, 3 years ago, when she took over the role of Vice Chair, what the next years were about to deliver? A normal year as Vice Chair was not going to prepare Pat for what was to come. The world turned upside down and Pat faced a whole new, unprecedented role as Chairman. Appointed Chairman in May 2019, Pat had undertaken 201 events before lockdown occurred in March 2020. COVID has changed the world, but undaunted, Pat carried on taking in her stride remote meetings, Zoom, and a whole new virtual world of carrying out her duties, both council and ceremonial. Physical miles turned into virtual miles, as Pat probably appeared in more homes online than any other chairman. Her contribution to reducing climate change immense, as the miles travelled reduced. Still undaunted, Pat continued to carry out as many functions as possible and was undeterred by this new way of working. Unprecedented as the first chairman to carry forward her role to a second term, she was determined to carry on as best as possible. Pat did, however, manage to squeeze in some public appearances during periods where lockdown was lifted, with her consort and husband Ian, when he wasn't stuck on a slide. In July 2020, she attended the Scarecrow Festival around Anlaby Common, probably a mistake in her robes, where she was asked why she was wearing funny clothes, another asking if she was a pirate, and another asking if she was the Queen. I'm told Pat, though, was humbled at two specific events. One meeting people suffering from motor neurone disease, and at another meeting people who had agreed to loved ones' organs to be donated. On the flip side, though, highlights were meeting people and children from different cultures, and she has also enjoyed the citizenship ceremonies and also meeting people she went to school with. I'm so sorry for Pat, for all those that could not share her company round the dinner table, at awards ceremonies, civic events, and so on. I'm sorry that today she cannot enjoy the company of all the other chain gang members from across the authority, whose company she justly deserves. Pat has recently managed to undertake the Chairman's Awards virtually and subsequently met up with various winners to present their awards. We have all suffered, deprived of Pat's wonderful baking for charitable causes, so often evident at County Hall. She has, however, still raised money for her charities, her Breast Friends, and Children's University, despite the pandemic. I wonder if Pat deserves 2 portraits on the wall of the council chamber, and maybe 2 entries in the list of past chairmen. Moving forward, though, I'm sure we secretly look forward to more of her wonderful baking, and rather than rest on her laurels, I know she is keen to get back to her continued contribution to children's services and her work on the foster panel, into which she pours so much effort. May I thank you, Pat Smith, for being a credit to this authority and a credit to the role of councillor and chairman. Thank you very much.
Councillor Nolan, please.
Sorry, it's Councillor Holtby to second.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Holtby, please. Seems to be a little lacking on mine.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very happy to second this vote of thanks.
That was quick. Now, Councillor Nolan, please.
Hear me okay? Yeah. I'm delighted on behalf of our group to second the vote of thanks for Councillor Pat Smith. We are still in a pandemic, but during the last year, it's been a very difficult year, as Jonathan said. But Councillor Pat Smith carried on. She could have handed over, but she gave a degree of stability by staying in for a second year. And it also was fairer to the incoming chair, who no doubt is now looking forward to all the chain gang meals and occasions that he would have missed out on if he'd taken the chair in the last year. It has been a difficult year. The technology has been a challenge to us all, learning things like mute buttons and putting your hands up and things and all the rest of it. And perhaps for councillors who are under 30, it all may seem very easy. But as you are over 60, sadly I am also one of those, it does get more of a challenge to get into the new technology. And I think Pat has handled that very well. I think also ably assisted by the Chief Exec and the Mayor support team. And I think we should also thank them for being a helping hand at times. Importantly, from an opposition point of view, we look for the chair of the council to act like a referee, to be fair and impartial. And I think we would all agree that that's how Pat has behaved. We may not have agreed with some of the decisions, and no doubt the Conservatives may have felt at times they were being badly treated, but we would all say in the round, Councillor Pat Smith behaved in a fair and impartial way, and we thank her for that. And I'd just like to finally touch on the ward duties, which Jonathan referred to. She didn't let the airs and graces of the mayoral chain go to her head. On Western area, if there was a contentious planning application in her ward, she'd be there popping up, defending or arguing on behalf of her residents, and quite rightly so. And I think she has done a great job in both chairing the council, but also quite rightly standing up for her residents in her ward. So on behalf of our group, we would like to thank her for all her efforts and wish her all the best in whatever she's doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jefferson, please.
Good morning, councillors and officers. I would like, on behalf of my group, to congratulate our new chairman of our East Riding Council, Councillor Nigel Wilkinson. We hope you have a wonderful year ahead and enjoy every single minute. We all agree here today that Councillor Nigel will be a more than worthy successor to Councillor Pat Smith. And I would like to assure you, Nigel, that you will have the complete support of the independent group during your year in office. We all wish you well as you take up this new challenge, and we are confident that you have the capacity, the integrity, and the civic pride to fulfill the demanding role. Over the years, the East Riding has indeed been fortunate, as has been said by our leader, with its choice of chairman. For 2 years now, Councillor Pat Smith has shown us all how she has taken on her role. And for her second year, she even became adept by holding meetings on Zoom and Teams, something we would not have dreamt of in the past. Yet we have all become accustomed to it now, some better than others. Pat and Ian have attended many functions, meeting people from all walks of life. They have always shown passion and commitment, which is so important and is so expected. We all hope that you both can feel that your job has been achieved in the last 2 years, and that now you can hand over all your responsibilities to the new chairman. Pat, please enjoy your life to the full, knowing that you have given your all. I'm sure you will go home together, put your feet up, and enjoy the future. On behalf of my group, thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor A. Walker, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just very briefly, Councillor Pat, thank you from our group for being a wonderfully impartial chairman. I know also that your ward residents hugely respect the fact that all of your ward remains your top concern. You've maintained it all, you've mastered the new technology, and I recall at our first meeting, which was probably Bridlington North Cliffs, at an adventure day, an activity day, which your consort may recall with some fondness, but generally, thoroughly, your commitment to be a Madam Chairman who is totally impartial has been so valuable to all members here. So from our group as well, we wish you the very best of fortune. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to also add my thanks to Councillor Pat Smith for carrying on for a further year during this difficult time. I think she will be the longest serving chair of the East Riding. During her first year in office, I believe she attended more events than the royal family has and baked more cakes and buns than Greg's. I hope you now have a little more time to rest, Pat and Ian. I would like to present you on behalf of all of us with, you and Ian, with a past badge of office, but sadly, I'm afraid, due to COVID regulations, we'll have to make do with it being pre-positioned on your desk. Councillor Smith.
Trust me. Hello, can you hear me? Thank you. Well, many of the words have actually been said, but thank you for those very kind words that you've all spoken about. Quite, yes, I shall. Can't find my first bit of paper. I want to thank, in the last 15 months, I'd like to thank Sarah Asquith for guiding me and supporting me through my, 3 years of office as Vice Chair as well, and Caroline and Sarah Baxter for also supporting me. Much of the stuff I've just scribbled down here has actually been said. As regards the fun day, it wasn't just the slide that Ian went on. He actually jumped off the back of it and got himself wedged in the cushions and had to be literally dragged out. So yeah, that was quite funny. As I say, a lot of the stuff has been said. I'd like to thank my chaplain, David Spears. I know he can't be here today, but it's been a truly good chaplain to me. So, yes. Sorry, I've just scrapped all the paper. As I say, one of the things was very interesting. We went under the Humber in the pipeline, the gas pipeline, and I shook hands with the mayor of North Links halfway under the Humber at the halfway point. Thank you for that. As I say, I've just scrapped all my paper. But as I say, one thing that was absolutely poignant and to me, as vice chair, I went to Goole at the anniversary of the First World War, and I took a picture of my dad's medals, and they actually found him on their records and told me that he was a Royal Engineer, and that was something that I never knew. So that was good. Anyway, thank you again. I've had 3 years of really interesting things and enjoyed it so much. So thank you.
Thank you again, Councillor Smith. It is a great honour for me to be elected to the role of Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council. My consort for the year will be my wife, Caroline, who sadly is away on business so cannot attend today. I would like to thank the Reverend Becky Lumley for agreeing to become the chaplain for the year on top of her busy schedule. I would also like to thank my proposer, Councillor John Dennis, who has held the role himself, and thanks also to my seconder, Councillor Richard Meredith. Thank you for the last 2 years to Sarah Asquith for all the assistance that she always gives chairman and vice chairs, and without her we certainly couldn't do this role. And I'd also like to thank Caroline and Sarah Baxter for keeping us on the straight and narrow and making sure we fulfill our role properly. One of my priorities for this year, the year of recovering from COVID, is to use my role to help the East Riding local businesses in any way I can to move forward after this torrid time so they can improve the East Riding economy, ensuring everyone benefits. My charity for the year will be Children with Cancer, a charity close to my heart for the saddest of reasons. I will also be raising funds for East Riding children in care and hope Councillor Smith will help with a little baking when she has the time. So thank you all again for this role. I will now take nominations for the Vice Chairman of the Council. Councillor Jefferson.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure today to propose the nomination of Councillor John Whittle as the Vice Chairman of the East Riding Council. As a fellow ward councillor in the North Holderness ward for over 14 years, John has been a great support and colleague. In 2007, he was fortunate to be elected to this authority, and during that time, he has served on the Planning Committee for 14 years, so knows a little about planning, Greater Prosperity Environment Committee, Environment and Regeneration, Children and Young People, Scrutiny Committee. His role includes numerous review panels where he contributes to the discussions and outcomes. Recently, on improved working with parish and town councils, which is so important to this council. John is chair of governors on 2 maintained nursery schools, so we can see that the variation in interest he has. It is shown very clearly in the eclectic positions he has held. John was elected to the Hornsey Town Council in the early 80s and has held the role of the mayor of the town 7 times. Of course, he's been very fortunate to have a supportive wife, Jane, who has followed him and supported him on all these occasions. He was lucky enough to be elected to the Holderness Borough Council, which was one of the district councils which made up this authority. One of John's favourite pastimes, some of you will not know, is acting. So he can be seen in all sorts of places, taking on all sorts of roles and making a fantastic contribution in whatever he does. He has been in many local productions in Hornsey. Since the year 2000, he actually chaired the committee that brought the 3 drama groups under one roof, which is now known as the Hornsey Amateur Theatre Society, or HATS, as they are so fondly known. From this information, you will understand why John and I fought so hard for the Floral Hall in Hornsey to remain open. And as I know you are all aware, it is vibrant and flourishing, so it was really worth all of the time and effort we gave to it. There is much more I could say, but you all know John, and I'm sure he will make a fantastic vice chairman, supporting Nigel in his new role. As you will have heard, I'm fully supportive of John, and I think he would be proud to represent the council, which is so important to all of us sat here today. May I just say, I hope you have been listening to me and realise what kind of a life John has. On top of having a super wife, he's got children, stepchildren, and he has grandchildren, which invariably you can hear when you're on the phone with him, as they make a slight background noise. John is a really, really super chap, and I think, Nigel, he would be perfect at your side. So please, everyone, would you give your support to Councillor John Whittle to be the Vice Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Meredith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello again. Oh, hello again, everybody, and thank you once again for lending me your ears. This time, I would like to inflict you all with having to tolerate my ramblings once more, whilst I extol the virtues of Councillor Whittle. First elected to Holderness District in the 80s, Councillor Whittle has a wealth of experience to draw upon and much to offer this authority in the position of Vice Chair. Elected to the East Riding in 2007, as we've heard from Councillor Jefferson, Councillor Whittle has represented Hornsey and her best interests for well over a decade now. He has also served as the Mayor for Hornsey on no less than 7 occasions, and I'm told it is a role that he enjoys very much. I was delighted earlier to be able to second Councillor Wilkinson for the position of Chair, and many congratulations to you, Chairman. And it is with equal pleasure that I am now able to second Councillor Whittle for the role of Vice Chair. As with Councillor Wilkinson, I have worked with Councillor Whittle in committees, and I have always found him to be both affable and eloquent. I believe both these gentlemen are more than up to the task of representing this authority with aplomb. However, Councillor Whittle is in possession of an asset that even Councillor Wilkinson doesn't have, a moustache, although he might be hiding it behind his mask today. So I would like to ask you all to please support Councillor Whittle and ensure that the legacy of the admirable members who have held this prestigious role is not just continued, but enhanced. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations, please? Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Chair. This is a difficult one. Our group is proposing Councillor Phil Davison, and I'd like to briefly explain why. I've known Phil personally for many years. I've always felt Phil is the voice of reason. Some people, when they approach a locked door, think they have to kick it in, whereas Phil often will look for a key to open the lock and get through the door. Phil has always worked hard for his residents. He's been a long-standing councillor on East Riding Council, before that Beverley Borough Council, and indeed for many years on Hessel Town Council. We feel Phil would carry out the chain gang role in a very diligent way, as he has done for Hessel Town Council. The second issue here is one of proportionality, and we last year argued that the chair of the council, and therefore the vice chair before that, should be done on a non-party basis. It is a ceremonial role in part, but it's also a chairing of the council meetings. It is also a way of recognising long-standing councillors who want to take on the ceremonial role. So for that reason, we argued it should be done and rotated in proportion to the size of the groups. So we were keen to put our candidate forward. Now, Phil is in a difficult position. He's known Councillor Whittle for many years, having served on committees with him. Phil doesn't want to stand against Councillor Whittle, and therefore, with a heavy heart and a degree of regret, Phil is withdrawing his nomination on the basis that our principal issue was proportionality, and that has been accepted. It hasn't fallen to us, but it has at least gone to a non-conservative, and that was one of our key issues. So, as this nomination has been proportional, and in view of what Phil's position, we will be withdrawing our nomination and supporting Councillor Whittle. Thank you.
Thank you. As we have no more nominations, we will go straight to the vote. All those in favour of Councillor Whittle? Thank you.
Okay.
All those against? Any abstentions, please?
Carried.
Thank you. That is carried. I declare that Councillor Whittle is duly elected Vice Chairman for the ensuing year.
I, John Whittle, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if any of the assembled multitude are familiar with the works of Richard Adams and Watership Down, wherein he coined that lovely word, tharn. Tharn, for those of you who don't know, refers to the state of a rabbit in the light of the oncoming headlights. And I suspect that's rather similar to how I feel at the moment. However, I shall go back to the prepared speech, which I wrote just in case. Mr. Chairman, members of the Council, I would like to thank you for showing your faith and trust in appointing me to the role of Vice Chairman of the East Riding of Yorkshire Council. Whilst I am honoured and moved by this, and by the expressions of support from my mover, Councillor Barbara Jefferson, and seconder, Councillor Richard Meredith, I am also well aware that this position is one not to be taken lightly, nor necessarily as an accolade. Rather, it is the opportunity to serve the East Riding and to support the Chairman. These duties I shall carry out to the very best of my ability. The first challenge will be to put on the chain without any assistance, so bear with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to minutes. That the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 7th of April 2021 be confirmed and signed as a correct record.
Back to second.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Thank you. And any abstentions, please? Thank you. That is carried. Communications. It is with great sadness that I have to inform members of the sad passing of former councillor Rita Hudson, who represented the Dale ward between 1998 and 2015. Our thoughts are with her family and friends at this difficult time. Election of leader of the council. That Councillor Owen be selected as the leader of the council with immediate effect for the remainder of the leader's term of office and until the annual general meeting of the council in May 2023.
Back to second.
Thank you. Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to say a few words before we call for a recorded vote, which is that I've known Jonathan personally for a number of years when I was previously on the East Riding, and we were both in the Cabinet at the time. And I've observed Jonathan as a very fair and reasoned person. I think he will be a good choice by the Conservative group as the council group leader. So this for us is not a personal issue, but I think even Jonathan would not expect the opposition to vote for him. And indeed, if the Liberal Democrats voted for Jonathan, it may actually put him in trouble with his own group. So on the basis that we can't obviously support a Conservative as the leader of the council, we will be calling for a recorded vote, but we'll be abstaining. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Nolan, do you have 5 people to support that requirement for recorded vote, please? Could they indicate? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, as a recorded vote has been requested, rather than the usual going in alphabetical order, we'll be going down the rows. It's just going to be easier today, if that's okay with everybody. So I'm going to start. If you could indicate whether you're for or against or abstaining from the recommendation that Councillor Owen is elected as leader of the council. So we're going to start with Councillor Smith. For. Thank you. Councillor Matthews.
For.
Councillor Aitken.
For. And Everson.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Everson, sorry.
For.
I knew this wasn't going to work. Councillor Aitken, I've got yours, thank you. Councillor Holtby.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Councillor Steele. Councillor Tucker.
For.
Councillor Nolan.
Abstain.
Councillor Healy. Councillor Jefferson.
For.
Councillor Walker.
For.
Where are we now? Thank you. Councillor Whittle.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Jump.
For.
Councillor Davison.
Abstain.
Councillor Johnson.
Abstain.
Councillor Hammond.
For.
Councillor Greenwood.
For.
Councillor Lee.
For.
Councillor Green.
For.
Councillor McMaster.
For.
Councillor Medini.
For.
Councillor Elvidge.
For.
Councillor Harold.
For.
Councillor Weeks.
For.
Councillor Scow.
For.
Councillor Meredith.
For.
Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Nickerson.
For.
Councillor Gateshill.
For.
Councillor P. West.
For.
Councillor Dennis.
For.
Councillor Beauville.
Abstain.
Councillor Boynton.
Abstain.
Councillor Matheson. For. Councillor Gill.
For.
Councillor Dialtry.
Against.
Councillor Lissitor.
For.
Councillor D. Jeffries.
For.
Councillor B. Jeffries.
For.
Councillor Heslop Mullins.
Abstain.
Councillor Sutton.
Abstain.
Councillor Padden.
Abstain.
Councillor Winter.
For.
Councillor Holmes.
For.
Councillor Copsey.
For.
Councillor Sykes.
For.
Councillor Coultish.
For.
Councillor K. West.
For.
Councillor Horton.
For.
Councillor Abraham.
For.
Councillor Temple.
For.
Councillor Burton.
For.
Councillor L. Bayram. For. Councillor C. Bayram.
For.
Councillor Rudd.
For.
Councillor Fox.
For.
Councillor Chadwick.
For.
Councillor Birch.
For.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Wilkinson. I knew there'd be one I forget. Thank you.
So the votes as recorded were for, 50, abstentions 9, against 1. So thank you, that vote is carried. Moving on to appointments made by the leader. Councillor Owen, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And first of all, can I say what a great honour it is and privilege to be appointed leader of the council. And I would like to move now that the details of the appointments of the Deputy Leader, Councillor John Holtby, and members of the Cabinet, including Cabinet portfolio holders, be received.
You to second.
All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Thank you. Any abstentions?
Okay, that's carried.
Thank you. That is carried. Appointments of committees. That the details of the following be received and approved as recommendations. Committee structures, proportionality and allocation of places on committees 2021 to 2022, membership of committees and subcommittees, including the appointment of chairman and vice chairman, appointment of group officers, and appointment of champions.
Back to second, Chair.
Thank you. All those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. Amendments to the Constitution. Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to move that the Constitution be reaffirmed and the amendments as detailed at Appendix 1 be approved, with the exception of on page 28, Section 11, Officers, Roles, Responsibilities and Delegations, Item 2 to the Chief Executive, all directors and those heads of service, etc. Then under Item 25 there, to determine applications to outside other bodies for financial assistance of up to and including £250,000, I would like to say that that remains at £100,000. Otherwise, all the other amendments as listed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Holtby, please.
About to second.
Thank you. Councillor Nolan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, a lot of the changes to the Constitution are sort of tidying up and reflecting the move out of the COVID lockdown. I would hope that we still have an element of remote meetings rather than always dragging everybody into County Hall, but that's something to be sorted out. The important thing here, I think, there's two areas that we welcome in this. One is that the time limit for speeches, reports is reduced from 10 to 5. Perhaps we'll have 2 portfolio holders instead of 1. But I think the more we can reduce long speeches and the more we can have shorter speeches from more voices, the better. So I think this is welcome. I'm happy that Jonathan has moved that the figure be retained at 100,000. I think that's sensible. My main reason for speaking is that it's about the questions by electors. I can't have gone unnoticed to councillors that we rarely hear from electors at council meetings. I think we get about 1 a year or possibly even less than that. And that's to be regretted. I think the more we hear from residents, the better. So the fact that we're allowing electors to speak for 2 minutes to introduce their question, I think can only be a positive. I think it was ridiculous to have a situation where they could only put the question as printed on the order paper and couldn't actually speak to it. So I welcome that. I think it's a positive move. I hope we can perhaps build on that and have things like residents' forums as part of the council, so we're consulting residents. We do, I think, still have the budget forums, but I think they are only a part of what the council's about. So we perhaps move more towards residents' forums as being improved. So I welcome the changes. I don't think they perhaps go far enough to satisfy me, but then perhaps that's the way I am. But I think it's a positive start, and maybe next year we can look to see if there are ways that we can hear more voices, both from the councillors and from the residents that we represent. So we will be supporting the changes and amendments as printed and Jonathan's amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. As there are no further hands, we'll move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. We'll move on to council meetings. Councillor Owen, please.
Thank you, Chairman. To move that the dates and times of council meetings as set out for the remainder of the current municipal year be confirmed and approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holtby, please. Thank you. Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just drawing attention to the report before councillors. If you look at the bottom of page 30 and running on to page 31, it says it's recommended that the Chief Exec, in consultation with the Group Secretary of the Majority Group, be authorised.
Councillor, I'm afraid that's the wrong item.
Are we on representation on outside bodies?
No, we're on
No,
council meetings.
we're on council.
Oh, sorry, I thought I jumped ahead. Okay.
I admire your enthusiasm, but I think it's hurry up and wait. As there are no other hands, we will go to the vote. All those in favour? Oh. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. Just to warn out Councillor Nolan. Representation on outside and internal bodies. Councillor Owen, please.
I think I may think of something to say, having been pre-warned on this item now, but no. I will just move that the recommendations of the report be approved and adopted. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Holtby, please. Thank you. Councillor Nolan.
Continue where I started with some embarrassment. I mean, obviously, the recommendations are as they were in terms of the Constitution, but I've just drawn members' attention to the fact that it should be done in consultation with the Chief Executive in consultation with the Group Secretary of the Majority Group to determine the appointments to be allocated as near to proportionality as possible. Now, I think we drew attention last year that something like 19 out of the 20 outside bodies were taken up by the Conservative group. And that does seem to me not very proportional, given that just under a third of the councillors on this council are not in the Conservative group. And to some extent it's a shame, because there is a range of talents and interests right across the council, and we should draw on that. So where there are members who have a particular interest or a background in an outside body, I think they should have the opportunity to be on those bodies. So, you know, let's not just have the Lib Dems and the Independents on the drainage boards, important though they are. Let's also give them a fair shout. So, in the spirit of perhaps a new change of council leadership that we're seeing, can I put a plea into the Conservative Group Secretary, I think it's Councillor Lee now, that there's a bit more of a drawing across of interests from the councillors in the council as a whole, and perhaps you know, a sort of a more equitable share of outside bodies. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no other hands, we will go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. So that is the meeting completed, and I'd like to thank you all for your attendance. Thank you.
Members, as we said at the beginning of the meeting, we're now going to exit from my left, and we're going to do that a row at a time, please, so that we can maintain some social distancing. Thank you. There are some members who we've spoken to already who are having photographs taken, and that will take place in the Bayview Lounge. Thank you.
I couldn't resist. Exit stage left. It reminded me of my youth. Yeah.
I'm assuming about that.